when they tell you BlackRock fell, they lying. BlackRock can't fall because BlackRock is not part of the fiat system. But what they can do is they can tell you BlackRock fell under the fiat system, and then BlackRock turn around and rise up. But it's not what we think. It's not who we think. Don't none of the people they tell you run it or own it. Now, that's the same for Vanguard, and that's the same for State Street. And that's why they own each other's stock. That's a business strategy. Now, remember, I'm telling y'all this financial stuff, but this is not my area of specialty. Okay, now, when Big Mama Bank take over, the old system has to collapse.
Okay.
When the old system collapse, it's going to be what's called a grace period where people going to have to pay attention, or else they going to lose track of what's going on to get their family's wealth. A lot of us don't want to pay attention.
Okay.
We want to listen to guys like Rod Hayes, like Rashad Jamal, like Young Elder, like Phase One. They like to listen to us go on rants and tirades about being done wrong. It makes them feel good. It's almost like going to church. Where you go and you shout on Sunday to make it tolerable to do another week of slavery as a slave on the plantation called the plant or the workforce.
Damn, you going in. Go ahead.
Right. So now we come full circle. We at the gates of the great hurrah, the last motherfucking collapse. I was watching the retired military general out of Australia. I was trying to find the video because I wanted you to share it with the people. But it's on another app. The one Dr. Kia Pruitt used to be on. I can't even remember the name of it. Might be, is it Discord?
Yeah, I think it's the name of it, Discord.
And maybe they put videos up like YouTube.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whatever it is, but he was going into all of this stuff I'm telling you, I've been saying for the last year and a half. And he said the same thing almost word for word, like he was quoting me. Yeah. But he's an insider. Right? He's part of the contingent of white hats that's operating in Australia, or what we call the Outback. It's not Australia, it's the Outback. It's the land of the Aboriginals, or the land of the people that was already there. Outback mean in the fields in the 9 city areas, but it's all still part of their territory. They can't take that from them. They blood ties and their ancestral ceremonial burial sites is still there. They tried to exhume our burial sites to move us off the land, but we got too many ancestors and they couldn't dig them up fast enough before the close of the age in the last 500 years to get them all. And all we need is one ancient ancestor still buried. And all you got to do is go to Jekyll Island, where we got those 8-foot tall chiefs. It's like 7 of them down there, where they did the Jekyll Island conjure to establish the central bank, because they didn't have, they basically used counter conjure to conjure our ancestors for their bidding. The old spirits is fickle. If they own won't call on them, they will answer who will.
Go ahead.
Right? So when they went to them, we hadn't called on them for over 200 years. And now, thanks to Rising Phoenix, thanks to Arisha Stone and several others, Kelly the Love Aquarian, they done went down there and did the family business on the Jekyll Island in the plane in front of everybody, and nobody didn't know what they was doing, but they was calling the ancestral forces, stop supporting the enemy. We need you to get back what's rightfully ours. Right? All of this has been going on in real time. Matter of fact, if you go to my Instagram story, you'll see Phoenix story where she just got done going down there. And the crazy thing is, on the 22nd, I went to Detroit. You know what? September the 22nd is the day that is recorded by the Nation of Islam that Master Fard Muhammad introduced himself to the messenger Elijah Muhammad.
Go ahead. Write that down.
Right. Now, that's the cover story.
Yeah. 1887, right? 76 is what it was.
It was 1930, I think.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the date he was born. My bad.
Yeah, you talking about his birthday.
Yeah, his birthday.
But that's the day that he introduced himself to Elijah Muhammad, which is a significant date. And I found myself in Detroit on the 22nd. At the same time, I'm in Detroit having a powwow with some a small family group. Phoenix is in Jekyll Island doing family business on behalf of Oye, Yemiya, and Oshun. And so they can dress this monkey up whatever suit they want to put in. They can't stop it from being a monkey, because what's coming, they can't stop. It's too many of us that's aware of the part that we play in the ancestral redemption process. I'm just here to tell you who did the conjure and how do we prove it and how do we get from under it. That's my job. My job is not to deal with the financial aspect. That's why I don't do nothing for money, because the money will confuse you and delude you into thinking that the people that's controlling fiat control money, and all they controlling is a false premise.
Now, he didn't say money, he said the economy. That's what John Rockefeller, what his name is, Rothschild. But that brings the next question I got for you, Rod. Now, people were saying that the tax, and I'm gonna get into we'll get into the tax next, but I want to ask you this question.
Taxes on Big Mama Bank. And Big Mama Bank, there's no such thing as taxes.
Okay. Write that down.
There's no such thing as taxes. Taxes is a usury that was created by Khazarians under the system of Babylonian money magic. Same with fractional reserve banking. All that's Babylonian money magic.
Go ahead. All
that come out of, you can read about it in the Talmud and Mishnah, where they telling them to control the Goyi's money.
Yeah.
Controls a means of medium of exchange for goods and services, and they ain't nothing they could do but come to you to do business. So that's one of the things we had to recover, was the whole economic system. We have to put a whole new system in place, and under the old system, our system would be considered fraud. But under our system, their system is considered fraud.
Okay.
Their system is based on fractional reserve banking, where $10 can get you $1,000 without you ever doing nothing but writing it on the paper.
Yeah.
Ours is, if you don't have the money, we can't give you a loan. There's no such thing as credit or taxes under Big Mama Bank. It's what we call cash and carry. You either can afford to live at this level or you can't afford it. There's no longer will you be putting off you're gonna live your life perpetually in debt, buying things you can't afford, which is called consumerism.
Right.
And if you go listen to them, they always talking about the consumer this, the consumer that. Well, why are they calling you a consumer? What do consumers do? They consume. The consumer, the Jewish term form is useless eaters.
Okay.
That means that you consuming, but you don't have any intrinsic value of the self. You the same as cattle. That's what the whole term goyim means, chattel. Right? So you a chattel human, just like they got cattle. Cattle is the terms of Bovians. Chattel was in reference to packs of humans. And they told you tribes was gangs and that gangs was bad. They never told you that tribe and gang can be used interchangeably. And because we don't do the etymology, we never know that when they're talking about a gang, they're talking about a tribe.
Right. Go ahead.
So now we know what's going on, we know who did it, all that stuff. But here it is, we don't have enough people to hit critical mass because people are inherently naive and believe in the status quo, which has been a fraud the whole time. They believe more in the current uniform system because the uniforms make people look legit.
Right.
That's straight out of the Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince, telling him how to control people with trinkets of worthless metals formed into fancy items in order to give them recognition that makes them feel like they're superior to somebody else. It's trickery.
Right.
Right.
Next question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on the same line. So if you're gonna keep you going, you're on the same line. So what people asking, and I wrote the questions down. They said, okay, what would happen to the police? Being the police is on this private corporation corps, they got there the uniform codes and commercial codes and all these codes. What would how would the transition happen with the police going out? Because a lot of them shut down. They ain't saying it. A lot of departments closing down. What would Yeah, what would happen with the police department? Will the gangs or something? What would be converted over as?
Well, the first thing you're gonna see when the police
public service. Okay.
Right. So the first thing you'll see is National Guard taking over.
Okay.
That's the first thing you're gonna see.
Okay.
This is to give the ones who's been deceptively incorporated into the police force an opportunity to salvage themselves and their family. Some of the police believe that they are walking incarnations of the law. And if you don't listen to them, you in violation. They got a term for it called, if you look up this term, matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up on here. I'm gonna pull it up.
Write it down.
The term is called contempt of cop.
That's the ones I'm just doing my job.
No, they believe that they are the job. They're not doing their job. They the walking embodiment of the law. Look, contempt of cop. Look, let me show you.
Yeah.
So, I'm about to read it. I wanted to show you that I ain't just quoting nothing off my head. It's a contempt of cop is law enforcement jargon in the United States. Now notice where it's at. For behavior by people toward law enforcement officers that the officers perceive as disrespectful or insufficiently deferential to their authority. It is a play on the phrase contempt of court and is not an actual offense. Right?
Wow. It's part of the conjuring.
Some examples of behavior that may be considered contempt of cop include disobeying instructions. There's no law saying you have to listen to the police. Expressing interest in filing a complaint against the officer. Making profane and disrespectful remarks to the officer. Nobody didn't tell you got to respect them. Fuck them.
Right.
Being slow to or not submitting to the officer's requests, directions, or orders. There is no law saying you got to listen to them until they come up with this term called resisting arrest. Think about that for a minute.
Right.
When they say resisting arrest, they mean that you're refusing to become a prisoner.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
If you're in a war zone, right? And you go, if you an American soldier, it's two of y'all, you ride down in Iraq on 50 Iraqi loyalist jihad soldiers and say, put your hands on the car, you under arrest. What's supposed to happen according to nature?
All them GIs finna get on your ass. You ain't taking none of that.
Tear your ass up. Now look what we do. They ride down on 50 Bloods or 50 Crips or 50 GDs or 50 BDs or 50 Peace Stones or 50 Vice Lords and say, hey, come over here. Now, majority of them gonna stab out and run. We out of here.
Yeah.
A small group of them gonna say, "Oh man, police always harassing us." They're gonna put their hands on the car. They're gonna get patted down, and out of all the ones that did that, about out of every 10 of them, at least 2 of them gonna have something that's illegal,
right,
in their possession. Don't matter what it is, whether it's a joint, or whether it's a old crack pipe, old weed pipe, whatever it is, you're gonna have something illegal on you. First of all, why in the fuck is you bothering me? Right? When the police is only supposed to respond to a complaint.
Right. Go ahead. Say
That's
something
their
now.
job. Their job is not to stop crime. Their job is to wait for the crime to happen and then find somebody to punish for the crime that they are saying happened.
Right.
This is why they can kill an innocent man with no repercussions.
Probable cause, they created probable cause to be able to overthrow that rule.
Well, probable cause was the way to get around the Miranda.
Okay.
Your right to remain silent and your right not to be a witness against yourself. Probable cause is just to usurp your rights.
Okay, go ahead.
Right? Because now, what do they use for probable cause? Oh, I thought I smelled some weed. Ain't nobody smoked no weed in this car since 1975. It's 1998. What is you talking about? Right? But it don't matter. The officer perception, now we going back to the contempt of cop, his perception, right? His profile that he developed in his own mind, according to his own understanding of the law. And they never taught law, they taught law enforcement. They not taught law. You should not be allowed to be a law enforcer without knowing law.
Right.
Because if one of your fellow officers is committing a crime in front of you, you covering for him, you are an aider and abettor according to law.
Facts.
But according to the police, I'm honoring the blue wall. I ain't rolling on my they more anti-snitch than the niggas in the street.
Damn. That's true, bro.
Look, they will leave a partner that then told on one of them to his own devices in the most hostile situation to get him killed.
Damn.
All you got to do is go back and watch some of those police movies like Internal Affairs. They'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They writing these movies based on testimonials of people who worked in that field. They call consultants because now they retired.
Right. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. Now, when the National Guard come in, they the first motherfuckers getting arrested. This is why police stations and sheriff's offices is closing down. The sheriff is a unique animal because the sheriff is supposed to be elected by the people.
Right.
Right. And the marshal, the U.S. Marshal is supposed to be elected by the people. Them are not supposed to be appointed positions.
Right.
Currently, the U.S. Marshal is an appointed position.
It's not supposed to be. Mama got U.S. badges, Marshal badges.
Yeah. But they're not supposed to be appointments. The U.S. Marshal is supposed to be the sheriff that has jurisdictional authority to operate on multiple tribal territories. Right? Now, all of their powers have been stripped. You know who got their power?
We do.
No. We ain't got shit from them. The U.S. Marshal powers is the FBI powers now.
Go ahead.
What's to do with the Attorney General's office?
Okay.
Right. All that's U.S. Marshal's power. That's not separate. But they separated it in order to give them more isolated control over aspects of how we govern. And then it makes it where they can put people that are controllable at the top of these organizations. Right. So if you have a marshal that haven't been elected, he's operating under fraud, under fraudulent pretenses, what they call in the United States Code. He's operating under colorable law, under the color of law.
That's right.
right? That means that he's doing all of the things that the lawful person would do, but he don't have the legal standing to do it.
Right. No
Right?
delegation.
That's because it's de facto. De
Right.
facto means they just assuming the position. But since it ain't nobody else here to be mayor, I appoint me.
Yeah.
Now, and since it ain't nobody to be deputy mayor, elder, I appoint you. Now, how we like that?
Right.
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 That's what they doing. You can't do that.
Yeah.
The chiefs are not, look, the chiefs are born into families. The family test them. Then they send them to the local community. Then they send them out in the world to the extended community. And they have to come in contract with a certain amount of people on the land from different walks of life. And this is why we find ourselves as fugitives and vagabonds and vagrants, as pauper kings or pauper gods,
That
right?
brings next question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we ride around on trains with hobo sticks, but we really the ones who's supposed to be governing this. But the uniform system is more pleasing to the eye than everybody's rep your colors.
Right. Hey, Rod, I got a good question for you. Based off, keep it going based on what you just said. Now,
Yeah, I'm listening. I gotta
today,
grab something. I'm listening.
like today, a brother was put to death on a death penalty. I don't know if you heard about that. And they had found evidence that the brother was innocent, and they didn't want to hear the evidence. They still put the brother to death today. Go out to the family on that. But he was in jail 25 years before they put him to death. That's just one part. That wasn't the question, but I was just making that like a known
Do you
thing.
think he the first one?
Huh?
Do you think he the first one?
No, he ain't the first one. He ain't the first one. He ain't the first black brother they didn't did it like that. They done did a whole bunch of brothers like this. This was in St. Louis. This is in St. Louis. And you know how St. Louis is. But this is a question I got for you. All the people, because we know this been they've been auctioning us off to these private owned prisons. Now, so all the brothers that's been in there for crimes that not like real crimes like drugs and just stuff that's like codes and statues. Under Big Mama's rule, will they get released? And the people that's in there for they got proven that they innocent, like Doc and other people. How would it be a new jail system or prison system under Big Mama's rule? And those guys that's in there for those type of crimes, would they be released? That's the first question I got for you on that part.
They ain't gonna just open up the doors and let nobody out.
Okay.
When the system transition, that's not gonna happen. We can get that out of our head.
Okay.
But what will happen is called the attrition model. Every community has to have a what's called re-entry initiative program to acclimate the people that's been out of society back into the society and set them up for guaranteed success. And we have the model that's been proven to work, but it's never been applied in modern systems. They apply it in tribal communities all over the world. When you come back from war in tribal communities, you don't just join the community all over again. You go through an internship that can last up to 5 years with the shaman, and this is where your psychology come from, right? When people are under the stressors of war, they behave outside of their regular natural self. We've been in a perpetual state of war in America, hardcore for 500 years. We ain't allowed to attack them because that was part of the George Washington challenge. We had to educate ourselves out of the condition that kept us ignorant enough to be controllable by the system. Most of 99.999% of us have no clue of what I'm talking about right now. Right. But this is why the devil got the extension from the War of 1812, which brought us to the 2012 calendar year. Right. And remember, it was 2014 when the Pope wrote Obama the letter.
Yep.
Right. Now, we didn't see Obama selling us out, even though he was openly doing it. We didn't know what he was doing because we don't know what's called the lingo of the secret societies or the royal families of Europe.
Right.
He was working hardcore. He was cloned by the Hitler program, the Boys from Brazil program, as the clone of Akhenaten, and his job is to seduce the people as if you was Akhenaten, and they will believe in you wholeheartedly, but you're going to do our bidding instead of doing what Akhenaten would have actually done, which was gave it all back to the people.
Right.
So when you look at ever since Ronald Reagan took power, or power was taken from Ronald Reagan by George Herbert Walker Bush before he assumed office.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what we don't pay attention to. Bush was not supposed to be his running mate. I think the guy named was out of Michigan was Monahan. Was supposed to have been the running mate for Ronald Reagan. But once he secured the Republican nomination, the Republicans marched George Herbert Walker Bush out, the godfather of the Skull and Bones Society, director of the CIA. Using his skull and bone contacts, he was able to get to the top tier of the CIA. He became the director of the CIA. As the director of the CIA, he was able to run off the Watergate scandal to get rid of Tricky Dick.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to put somebody that they called soft in office, so they elected a peanut farmer out of Georgia.
Wow.
Right? And why is he still living and he's 297 years old?
Right.
Everybody did but him.
It's a good question.
Because he's an android.
Damn. Hey, man, that makes sense now, bro. You just made...
Go back to the year 2000 and What to Expect by Baba, Malachi Z. York.
Yeah, that makes sense now. A lot of shit just went off in my head when you said that now.
You know who else an android?
Who, Bite?
Zuckerberg. That motherfucker haven't aged since high school. That's not possible. I don't give a fuck how good your DNA is, but his DNA definitely wouldn't have been possible for him to not age in 35 years.
He looked the same, yep.
Because he's the same. You know where you can find him as Data on Star Trek.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's who Zuckerberg is. He's just a figurehead. The United States military owns the internet. Period.
Go ahead.
All of the social media platforms is military intelligence gathering platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Discord. If you name one, the military is the real owner.
Right.
Now, they might put people in the position that look like X. They look like Elon Musk on X. He don't own shit. He don't own shit. First of all, he ain't even real. He got a whole dude about this tall working levers in his chest.
Right. It's a movie I like that. Yeah,
I'm serious. Like it sounds totally insane. I know it do because we're not used to seeing that.
Yeah,
but he got one of the little ones, and dude be laughing. He got a good sense of humor. The one that's inside of him, and he do stuff for joke value, shock value, to give him something to laugh at. And he know that 99.9999999% of humans have no fucking clue that the real Elon Musk been took out of the picture a long time ago.
Go ahead.
And it's about 3 different bodysuits he used. He don't even use the same bodysuit all the time.
You can tell. You can tell.
And all of this stuff is like, we supposed to be able to see this because our God mind sees all deception. But they told us If the priest wars told us to not let our God mind activate, and amen.
Okay.
Unknown, concealed, repressed, held back. Amen. Amen. Amun. It's the same shit. It's a spell of sleep that you conjuring up on yourself because you believe that you can handle it with your ego's development on your own because they convinced you that you don't need nobody but your ego and your thermos.
Right. Hey,
that come from the dirt.
I'm gonna ask someone. Raw is doing his breakdowns. Goddess was asking because this everybody been asking. I got this question 100,000 times, and I got it written down. Dark Goddess. She was asking about because we know on some reservations when I visit some reservations, especially the ones like in that was New Mexico, they didn't pay electricity. They got free electricity, and so they was wondering like on the Big Mama system.
All utilities is prepaid. You don't pay for utilities. That's governmental responsibility.
Right. We really don't. You really can't pay for utilities now. You think you paying for utilities with fiat? You crazy? Look, it's a way you can write that off with a red ink pen. Like I saw some people doing it. I didn't go into it too much, but I remember it. But
That's
I don't
though.
paying. We only